There's no doubt that work sharing does require a fair amount of planning and management. What it does mean, however, is the ability of multiple users working in effectively the same file. The file that I've provided for this exercise is not a work sharing enabled file, and that's going to be the whole purpose of this and coming exercises. What I will be getting you to do, however, is to save the file in its present state to a folder on your computer, saving it again so you can see the process by which backup files are created, enabling work sharing, creating a central file, and then creating a local file. All the terms will be explained along the way. I suggest you practice this several times before working on a live project. And when you do get to work on a live project, make sure that your co-workers also have the same level of understanding, or better, of work sharing as you do. From your Chapter 19 folder, open up Chapter 19, Work Sharing Start. At this point, it doesn't matter what view we're looking at, but what I'll get you to do now is to go to the Application button and click on Save As Project. I'm now going to save this project into one of my working directories. Click on Save. Although we've been through this process before, it's worth reinforcing the point. Here on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that I've saved my file. Now, if I click on Save, you'll see that when I've saved the file, we now have a backup file that has the same name with 0001 at the end. If I press Save again, we get 0002, and so on. This keeps happening until I reach the limit for backup files. This file has been set to have 3 backups, so I'll never have more than 3 of the backup RVT files. So let's see what happens when I enable work sharing. From the Collaborate toolbar, click on Worksets. Here we get the message, you are about to enable work sharing. Note, sharing a project requires careful planning and management. Click OK to enable work sharing, or Cancel to return your project without enable work sharing. Move levels and grids to Workset, Shared Levels and Grids, and move the remaining elements to Workset, Workset 1. So once I click OK here, Revit will go through the process of redefining the Revit database. This can take a few minutes, depending on the size of the project, its complexity, and the number of elements in it. Once the process is completed, you'll get this Workset dialog box come up. For the time being, we'll click on OK here, because what I want to do now is save the file. I'm not going to save it directly over the top of the one we started with, but once it is saved, you'll notice this Save button will disappear, and this Synchronize and Modify Settings button will become active. From the Application button, click on Save As Project, and I'm going to call this file Chapter 19 Work Sharing, and let's append Central to the end of the file. What's probably worth pointing out here is the Options button. If I click on Options, you'll see that the work sharing file has 20 backups by default, but that shouldn't be a problem, and you'll see why shortly. I'm going to click on OK and click on Save. You'll now see that we have the Chapter 19 Work Sharing Central file and also a Chapter 19 Work Sharing Central Backup folder. This backup folder contains the backups, which are completely inaccessible, unlike the backups from a standalone file. Additionally, back in the file, you can now see the Save button has changed. With only one button to save like this, we know that we're working in the central file. Now that we've done the Save As, the next thing to do is click on Relinquish All Mine. What I'm doing here is relinquishing ownership of the objects in the file before I create what is called a local file. I'll click on Synchronize, click on OK, and close the file.